Good afternoon, committee members and other parties of interest. This evaluation committee meeting and possible scoring for request for proposals RFP 25-00230 Employee Communication and Engagement Platform for the Communications and Digital Media Department is being held by means of communications media technology. Provisions have been made for members of the public desiring to have access to view the meeting. Public attendees must remain on mute and cameras off. For the record, this meeting is being recorded and the recording will be available as soon as possible after the meeting has ended. Please be advised that the cone of silence is still in effect and shall end the earlier of 5 business days after the county posts its notice of intent to award the contracts associated with the solicitation or on the date the procurement solicitation is canceled by the county. All questions, comments, and concerns must be directed to our attention through the bonfire system and our attention and procurement only. As a matter of housekeeping, for technical advisors and project observers in attendance via communications media technology, please mute your audio unless speaking and turn your camera off if needed. If you are called in, do not put the call on hold. Do we have any technical advisors or observers online that we're aware of? No. Okay. My name is Christy Alessino, and I'm the Procurement Operations Coordinator assigned for this project. Again, for the record, this meeting is being recorded and has been publicly noticed. At this time, I'm going to ask each committee member to introduce yourselves for the record.
Communications and Digital Media, Digital Engagement Manager.
I'm Laura Berrigan, and I'm Customer Experience Solutions Manager with Customer Service and Support.
I'm Anna Mendes. I'm with Communications and Digital Media, Marketing and PR Division Director.
For the record, we received 10 proposals from Staffbase, Mango Apps, Xero Holdings LLC, Sierra Lustra LLC, Oxycion Inc., Interact Software, Blue People LLC, Osmore Inc., Carasoft Technology Corp., Intellisite, I'm saying this wrong, Intellisites. Anybody got anything on that
I
one?
think it's Intellects.
Intellects Inc. After the initial review of the submissions for responsiveness, procurement deemed the responses from Carasoft Technology Corp. And Sierra Lustra LLC as unacceptable, and letters were sent to properly notify these firms. The committee will now evaluate, discuss, and score by consensus the 8 remaining responses submitted for the RFP. Each proposal will be evaluated based on the information provided in the response as it correlates to the requirements and evaluation criteria set forth in the solicitation. The responses will be scored based on the following criteria: quality of the proposed system and its ability to achieve the county's objectives with a maximum of 30 points, the proposer's organization, qualifications, and experience with a maximum of 30 points, the proposer's understanding of the scope and objectives, technical approach, and work plan presented with a maximum of 15 points, and the total cost with a maximum of 25 points. DWBE bonus points were offered as a max of 5 points. If the committee would like to hear from any technical advisors or advisors have information they feel is important for the discussion, that can be requested and discussed within each category. If there is something that you come across, even though you don't have a technical advisor here, if we bump into something and need to have a technical advisor intercede, we can work on that. Okay. The evaluation committee chairperson is Brian Roberts, who will lead the discussion for evaluation and scoring. After each category is discussed, please state the final consensus scoring agreed upon so I can record it in the scoring sheet. After the conclusion of the scoring, I will verify the scores with the committee and provide the final scoring. With that, I'm going to hand it off to you, Brian.
Okay. And
Just remember to speak loud enough that everybody can hear you on the recording.
Okay. So Osmore, looking at the quality of the proposed system and its ability to achieve the county's objectives. Anybody have any initial comments on Osmore Solutions? Pros, cons?
I have notes if you want me to read them.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know if that's helpful. Sorry, this is my first time ever doing this, but, so from, my review of the proposal, some things stood out. They seem to, can I just talk generally? Okay, they seem to hit most of the requirements. I did notice we require 5 references, I believe, and they provided 3, which, you know, it's just something that I noted. They named the app, I believe, in my reading of the summary. It was called Hillsborough County Now. So it seems like they have put some thought into what the app could, would look like and some of the specs of that. US based, like was required, both of the certifications, looks like a 6-month rollout. I thought the solution details were very comprehensive. I had a couple of notes because it looked like an RFP implementation should be separate from testing and training, but it looked like it was the same for everybody in the cost breakdown. So I took that off my list. And then I did note, unless I missed it, that I did not see a disaster recovery plan. So that was my off the.
I had some of the similar comments that it was comprehensive, it, seemed to have all the features that we were looking for. SMS to gamification, to engage the employees. Thought the references were fine as given. Certainly have quite a few accolades listed in here too. Recent.
My main takeaways were it's a relatively young company. Not in the realm of 15, 20, 25 years that some of the other participants were. It seemed to me that it leaned more towards learning and training management than internal comms, although it certainly seems to support internal comms, but I think that the learning is a big chunk of what they do, and we know that our furnace Oracle is where we have all of our training. So, for A1, quality of proposed system and the ability to achieve county objectives, do you have score 9 out of 30? 30 being the best, I'll give them.
Probably like a 20.
They were, out of all of them, they were probably in my top, let's see.
Okay.
Maybe like 4 or 5.
Maybe I remember my top 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So out of 30, you're giving it 20?
Maybe 22.
22? Okay, I would give them a 20. So the average, we're doing
You have to come to a consensus.
census. Like you're 21.
I'm good with 20.
You good with 20?
Yeah,
20 we go.
because I feel like I can look at it from the sort of the user experience.
Sure.
Same here,
Right.
the back end is.
The more technical, I would sort of, right.
All right, the next criteria is the proposer's organization, qualifications, and experience, so the overall quality of the company. Again, my only concern was they're rather young. But beyond that, they do have some pretty decent sized clients.
Mhm.
State of Colorado, obviously, large with 20,000 employees. Everything else looked pretty solid. They got all their certifications, all US based. Anybody have any concerns about the organization itself?
No,
Positives?
I think fairly new is okay for me. They're like, might get something a little bit different with newer eyes.
On a 30-point scale,
20.
What about you, Brian?
I'd give it 20 just based on years of experience.
20 it is.
20. Okay. All right. Next one, the scope and objectives, technical approach, and the work plan presented. I mean, it looked like a pretty standard work plan. They went through the planning phase and training phase and implementation phase and maintenance phase. So I didn't see anything that stood out as anything negative. On a 15-point scale, I would probably recommend a 12 on that. Is there anything to add? And this is basically their explanation for how they want to roll this out.
Yeah,
We gave them 4 to 6 months as our base timeline.
basic, comfortable with law.
Yeah, I think they said 6-month rollout is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 12 it is. That concludes Osborne. We're gonna move on to Xero. Let's see, the proposed system and ability to achieve the county's objectives. I found these guys pretty quick. Their solution, maybe more than anybody so far that I've read, checks every box on the requirements that we have. I could not find one thing that it didn't do that we asked a lot.
Okay, so that's interesting because I feel differently
Do you?
about this one.
Okay.
I felt like it was very general, like
Yes.
not specific to Hillsborough County. They didn't give the SOC2 unless we signed an NDA, which I don't know if that's required or not, but did not include any actual references. They linked to testimonials. I didn't click the link because I wasn't sure about if we are permitted to. Another one had a video. I wasn't sure if we were allowed to do that. It looks like they don't have any AI leverage content scheduling and I'm not clear on the Oracle integration, but I wrote the page number if you want to review it. And I felt like the timeline was very general. So I kind of felt like for this one specifically, while their sort of, business and clients were really good, I felt like perhaps they could have tailored their proposal more to, I felt like it could have been more tailored.
I felt exactly the same way.
Yeah.
But as far as their overall solution goes,
Well, like I said, I don't know. And do you want to look at page 10 of the,
which one?
I think it must have been the, let's see, let me open it up.
The implementation or
The document,
the big document?
probably the big document. Sorry, I don't know why.
Yeah, I did ding them for the AI scheduling. It was a.
Must have been solution details.
This was specifically about Oracle.
Yeah, so at the bottom of page 10 on the solution details, Xero doesn't have an integration specific to Oracle Cloud but it could be leveraged using their own.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, just because I'm not familiar as much with the technical.
Yeah, and the Oracle was an optional.
Okay,
It was listed as
Okay.
optional. I wouldn't ding them on that one,
okay.
me, but as far as this document goes, other than, I think, like what you said, the AI scheduling, would be the only thing I dinged them on.
And then what about, because it looks like it's a subdomain from their own software is what we would get.
That's what they would give us, but that's always able to be handled on our end. As
Okay.
far as giving it the coin dot
Got it, okay.
or whatever we end up calling it.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was like customizable enough for us.
Yeah, we would end up doing that on our end.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns on that one? No. So I'll go with you first. Out of 30 for the proposed system.
I would probably go 21.
Okay.
were lower to me than.
Lots more.
Mhm. Yeah, I was thinking like 18.
Okay. Just thinking 25.
Keep in mind, you're not comparing. You're scoring individually. So you're not scoring as a comparison.
Purely for
Right.
some of the.
Sure, you understand,
Right.
which is important. We have a lot of you.
We have a lot of users.
I did do reference checks on my allowance to cite those.
Absolutely, yes, you should bring up reference checks, and if you need to adjust scoring in accordance with that.
So I got very little direct feedback from references. Probably because the people think I'm spamming them, which is the word
Correct.
that isn't correct.
Reference checks can be tough.
Right, I did look across Gartner for references and
Okay.
rankings,
We are allowed to do our own.
and
Research.
Xero was a 4.8 out of 5. Higher than any of the others, as far as customer service was their number one. Number 2 was ease of use. They got a ding for a little bit for their not being on-site training, but I'm not sure if any of them really offer on-site training nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their ease of use, their completeness of solution, and their customer support were top notch. So. I don't know if that helps you or hurts me or hurts you. What's that?
Did you get any references for?
Yeah, for Oliver. You reach out and hear back.
People are reluctant.
Yeah,
I get it.
imagine for
You're
something
getting
like
an
this.
email or you're getting somebody reaching out.
Well, and I would imagine if they're giving you public agencies tend to have policies similar to ours.
Yeah,
Ours
the
is
only one that gave me
you
one
can
was
get
a public
factual
agency.
information.
Right.
And that's
Nothing-
it.
Nothing more, no opinion.
Yeah, no opinion.
Right.
So to even get a reference that's gonna tell you, oh, they were amazing, they were great to work with.
Right.
You're not gonna
Go
go
on flowing before, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's,
policy says you're not supposed to do that.
that's why I figured Gartner was a good resource. I ranked all of them based on that as well, so. Objectively, they did have top scores. So, I'm holding a 25.
Oh, you are, okay.
From the like onboarding and the training standpoint, did you?
Onboarding was fine, and that's A2 where or 3 where it's a scope and objective and work.
I was gonna say, remember
Yeah, that
what
would be nice, but
category
this was
you're
just
in,
about the actual
quality of the
software,
proposed
how
system.
it actually meets our internal comms objectives of outreach, regardless of geographic area, regardless of device.
So should I also be doing the same thing?
No.
Oh, okay,
For us, it's just a discussion,
Okay.
and then we land on it.
gotcha.
You're holding that 25.
I'm holding 25, but talk me out of it. I want to hear your standpoint because I'm looking at it. Yes, from an end user, but also from an organizational enterprise viewpoint, not as a, internal comms user necessarily. It was the generic nature of the proposal that bothered you. It's
Yeah.
kind of boilerplate.
Boilerplate. I feel like that it's very telling when they, put the effort into name something, right? Give you actual. Yeah.
In my experience, the smaller firms will do that because they need to,
Yeah.
kind of dazzle you, the larger one. Pick your lead.
Right. I just don't know if we should weight them all equally in that way.
Right.
Then,
It's hard, it's hard. Some
Right.
people can really dazzle you with their presentation and others. Lowered it.
Right. It just makes me wonder if that then would translate to how we are,
Exactly.
if after, post-contract, if it would, if you would get that more hands-on and more like attention.
Based on,
I do have a question about the overall process. Today, after we do the scoring, are we able to bring in for presentations, like the top 3
Or a
or?
conversation we're gonna have as we move forward, so, and that's actually not, let's talk about that real quick.
Sure.
So the solicitation has the option for us to decide. It wasn't very specific in saying we're gonna have oral presentations or demos. It just kind of left a little gray question mark in there intentionally, because we don't want to lock you into having to do them. If you receive the proposals and it's very clear at the end of this meeting that you have an awardee and you're gonna move forward with awarding, great. Do that, we go to the board, we award, and we're done. If at the end of the day, you get to a short list and we see a natural break and you don't feel confident that we're gonna just go with that top ranked firm and award, that you want to see demos and have an oral presentation, you can elect to do that as a committee as well. So know that you're gonna have that conversation as we get towards the end of this discussion. You're gonna either feel comfortable to move forward, or you're gonna feel comfortable to go to an oral presentation.
I'm moving in.
You're gonna walk out of this room feeling comfortable with your decision one way or the other. I can't promise you after orals and demos that you're gonna walk away going, well, that made it so much easier, but
No guarantee.
sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You know.
Okay.
But at least you know you've done everything to, if that's how you decide to do it.
The visual, watching would be
Because of the
so.
complexity of it. I
Exactly.
think that's probably where we're gonna end up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also a visual person and
It's serving all 5,600 employees, so
Uh-huh.
kind of a crucial piece.
Yeah.
And who will make it to those will depend on where scoring falls and how
Okay.
that ranking falls, and we'll talk about scoring and the break in scoring and what makes sense. Of course, we don't want to take all of them to demos because that would be just so time consuming
Correct.
and a waste of time for many of us involved, including the vendors, but we'll look at that scoring and try to figure out like where it makes sense to have that cutoff shortlisted
Okay.
and move forward.
with that, I think I'd be comfortable at a 21. I'm not sure 25 for me as it stands without.
Okay.
Seeing something visually.
Let's go up to 20. 40.
23. 22.
I can do 20.
22. All right, moving on to proposer organizational qualifications and experience. For me, this is what they do. This is all they do. Their internet, their internal comms. Unlike, there's a lot of firms out there that do a lot of different things. That's what they do. So they seem to have experience. They certainly have large customer base, large companies, mid-sized companies, government. So from an organizational standpoint, I think it's solid.
I agree. So,
24. Okay. And the last one's gonna be the work plan. Scope, objectives, technical approach. It was a pretty light document, there's no doubt about it. A lot of infographics instead of spreadsheets, which I get it. I mean, it follows the PMP project planning, technical implementation standards.
Again, not tailored toward us.
No, it's very, here's the boxes and kind of big organization within its plan boxes, but nothing stood out as being a problem. Nothing stood out as being like, oh, they're gonna just rush you through it. Again, I will emphasize that the setup and the implementation was ranked high, as well as the ongoing customer technical support were ranked above everybody.
that's good to hear.
And what are those rankings based on?
So they're independent reviews. Gartner is a consulting firm that ranks technologies on all kinds of different technologies. So these are actual buyers that come in and review the product. They have to be a Gartner client, and then they sign on for the consultation documentation, and then they rank the pros, the cons, and their overall experience with the vendor. And then they also include the size of the organization that they work for, and how many employees, their dollar figures. So very comprehensive. But you have a different number in mind for
What numbers did you have?
44.
Out of 15.
I'm sorry.
No, I was like, I know.
Wow.
That's not high.
Yeah, Lucky number 13.
I'm gonna go with like with an 11,
Okay.
just based on the lack of specificity for Hillsborough County.
I have a 12. In the middle. And to see the feedback that you got, the research you were able to do, so that was helpful.
Well, it is. Yeah. All the blue people.
Maybe round tables spread out.
Sorry. Okay, anybody have any initial thoughts on the blue folks? Blue, oh,
This one seemed more
LLC.
logistics based.
more what?
Yeah,
Logistics.
it was very different than the other proposals, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah, it felt like a consultation consultant or integration partner who could probably custom build you something,
Right.
but it wasn't a commercial off the shelf, we own it, we.
No.
They would own it if they built it, but it wasn't a standalone product.
Yeah,
And,
it's called Blue Surf.
there's merit in that, but generally those get complex and can get pricey. I mean, based on their proposal. They do this a lot. They do this for a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of talk about intranet though. for
No.
me. I really
Right.
didn't find
No.
hardly any mention of intranet, and that is concerning because again, that's all we want to hire them for.
I felt like it was, to move widget. Right. So the widget.
They're developing it and they're moving, yeah, and they can, they can customize it any way they want, but,
I did write a couple of notes down.
sure.
Based on what I read, it looked like a 1-year implementation. Like we wanted 4 to 6 months.
And that's because of the custom built solution.
I believe it's called Blue Surf. I think it's already,
It is Blue Surf.
okay.
But I think it's tailored for each
Oh, I see.
user, yeah.
I did not see any certificates or disaster recovery plan. References, I don't know if you.
I got nothing back.
Nothing about them.
And I couldn't find any rankings on Gartner for that.
It also mentioned subcontractors in the proposal, which I don't believe that.
They're allowed as long
Oh,
as
they
they're
are.
US based, but
Gotcha.
I've always had the philosophy of a single throat to choke kind of thing. I don't want anyone pointing to another vendor.
I agree, and I feel like there's some pay costs in that too.
There can't
Sometimes
be,
we call
Right.
or delays.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, the implementation plan listed George Mason University and not Hillsborough County.
They're at the bottom.
Okay. So out of 30 on the quality of the proposed system. Right?
15.
Nothing with a 10.
That's what was in my head first, yeah. I'm okay with a 10 too.
Go with 10. So those are organization qualifications and experience. I'm sure they're, a gifted company at systems integration and custom development, but I didn't see a lot of solid evidence that they do trends.
Agree.
So again, I would probably put them in 10.
Agreed.
10. Scope and objectives, work plan presented, even if it was George Mason University. It looked like normal limits, normal standard implementation, but the timeline was way double. So I'd probably give them a 7 on that. I don't have it here.
That's what it was at 5.
I was gonna be with a 5 too, but 6.
Let's go with a 6.
6.
We're gonna jump down to the one that we can't pronounce.
No.
Intellect.
I think it's intellect.
Intellect. Okay, sure, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I've heard that. I can't say.
I know, I can't. I'm sure it's clever and it makes sense, but I don't. Anybody have any initial thoughts? So, or their actual system, proposed system? I thought the proposal was kind of like
Kind of like,
missing.
seemed kind of middle of the pack to me.
Mhm.
Agree with
And in terms of actual solution, is it Azure? Or I don't know if I'm saying it.
Yeah, it's, I believe this is all going to be based on SharePoint Office 365.
Right.
That's from a organizational standpoint, that is problematic that we don't have dedicated full-time SharePoint administrators here. And that would be a challenge to help us in the long term maintain a system that's based on a system that we all use, but we don't have dedicated staff for. So that could be problematic for me. Could be problematic for IT as well.
Functionality wise, it seemed like it had all the, it hit all of our requirements.
Right.
I had the same thing you had down, Brian, SharePoint.
SharePoint's kind of a sore subject in this organization.
But regardless, regardless of who is the contract selection, SharePoint will be integrated in the intranet.
It would be integrated, yeah, so it would be, I believe, from what I've read, that would be the base of it. The Office 365 version of SharePoint, and we'll build off of that.
For this particular vendor, she was asking, you're asking.
Oh,
Like
regardless, yeah, and that is, and it's because of the way our organization's built, we just don't have the in-house support for such, we know that we have issues with Teams, we have issues with SharePoint, OneDrive, because we don't have dedicated staff. So then my concern is that in the event of any real challenge, we don't have that expertise. So, this sounds like a very custom solution too, built around O365.
Really big stood out to me, honestly.
The main thing for me was SharePoint.
Okay, so on a 30-point scale for the quality of the proposed system and its ability to achieve our objectives.
That's where I was, they ranked lower than,
Excellent.
Yeah. 18. And qualifications and experience. Again, from a Microsoft standpoint, they seem to know their way around.
Yeah.
But that's just a weakness for our organization. So ranking them on the fact that they're a decent company. Are they a decent company for this fit? Again, I'd probably stick around 17, 19. Or spit goes for
I'm good with the 18.
all surveys say 18. And the technical approach work plan. Nothing exotic, seems pretty straightforward.
I felt like the implementation plan was pretty detailed,
Okay,
which I thought was a plus.
sure. Yeah, nothing stood out as being short-sighted or past
I mean,
our
it seems-
deadline or.
Yeah, it seemed pretty robust
Okay,
to me.
10 or 11 on that.
I'd probably with an 11.
11.
Yep.
11. Okay. Move on to interact.
I don't, you didn't hear anything from the rankings, the Gartner,
For,
intellect,
no, I did not, I could find.
what about interact?
I found a lot on Interact, so
Okay.
Interact. They were 4.5 out of a 5-point scale.
Okay.
Again, they were ranked high for stellar customer service. That was a big quote, stellar customer service. Again, no on-site training, some people did that, most people did not, because I think that's just the way it is. And then again, ease of use for end users was their high range. 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, a few little negatives here and there, but they were all related mainly to not having on-site training. It's more of the train-the-trainer style,
Right,
which is more cost-effective. A lot of companies do that.
yeah. I know it mentioned Amazon Web Services. I didn't know if we had a preference in terms of hosting.
Nope, that's what all of our stuff is hosted.
Yeah,
on.
Right, and then, did mention that some of their solid processors are US UE based. So I didn't know if that meant that they could potentially be in.
So we would have to verify that they are all US based. They
Yeah.
have both, so I think what they're, again, this is a little more of a generic proposal.
Right.
I think it's based on your geographic location, but we would
Okay.
definitely have to verify that they're US based in the process.
Yeah, same with the SaaS platform.
Yep.
They said it was based in the EU, so I don't know
Yeah,
if
so they're on both
that
sides.
needs to be.
So it would have to be US based. Which AWS could be really anywhere. We'd have to make sure we're processed onshore.
Right, and then it said it partners with enterprise grade company. I didn't know if that meant that, they use subcontractors or if that was. I'll look
Page
at the
was that
picture.
on?
I'll have to,
Enterprise grade.
yeah, enterprise grade company. Software.
Well, we did ask for an enterprise level solution, meaning something that could support and scale
Mhm.
as we needed it. Which they certainly seem to fit that based on their existing client base, much larger than us.
Right,
Yeah, they have to be very large.
Very large, yeah. Again, this is the similar to the Xero, this is their wheelhouse, this is all
Sure.
they do. But it's more of a, definitely a cookie cutter present proposal, because they do it all day long. But I didn't really find anything that stood out as being a thing against them as far as the solution details go. Yeah, they are global, so they're gonna quote EU and US for probably everything.
I did write, so they do have software add-ons on page 44 of the solution details. And I was wondering about that because, one of them is the display.
But the,
Display. Digital signage,
right,
and it's quoted at 14, it's an add-on, so it's quoted at 14,000, but I'm pretty sure it's part of the, or maybe it's just a capability.
yeah, I mean, we don't get into, costs right now, they're stored on that, but I'm assuming all these prices are all rolled into one.
Well,
We
these
don't
are add-ons.
Don't know.
Yeah, these are add-ons on page,
Yeah, so I don't know what their total bid is, so I don't know if that's inclusive. I don't know.
We need to figure that out because that may
I could
shift
bump
their
them up,
story.
yeah, or bump them up or down, okay.
like email newsletter, 16,000, sandbox.
If it's not clear on whether their cost is all inclusive of if we said these are requirements.
Yeah.
They needed to
That needs to be part of the whole.
incorporate, even if it's considered an add-on to their software, they needed to incorporate that into their cost.
And again, I don't
And
know,
not listed as an add-on.
yeah, I haven't looked to
So-
see what their total bid.
Yeah,
Was
that deviation we need to resolve.
Okay.
I just wanted to point that out because
Yeah, I noticed that at the end too. I'm hoping that's just a transparency thing, that it's all rolled into one.
The word add-on, concerns. me.
Implies
Yeah.
additional. cost.
Recommended
Right.
to add on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 118,860 is
Is the
it's
base.
in the solutions details. That's
The subscription cost.
yeah, subscription. cost.
Okay,
So, yeah, it could be part of,
sure.
but we can probably tell right now because the pricing table is also part of the.
It is.
It is,
We're
but
not
it doesn't
supposed to-
define.
We're not allowed to look at that right now.
Oh, I got you.
Well, and it doesn't define when they put a number in
Right,
what they
What that
consider
includes.
including, whether they said that add-on is part of that number or not.
Right,
Based on what you're stating, I don't know that it was clear,
Okay,
so. we're
okay, just
gonna
something
need
to note. I don't know
We'll
that
clarify that.
yeah.
We're
I
gonna
don't know
need to
that would affect
clarify
their-
that, which means today we may not be able to complete this meeting,
Okay,
depending on where they come.
Okay.
So,
so with quality proposed system. And I couldn't find anything here that didn't match up or line up with our solution requirements.
Yeah, I didn't have any, those, I didn't have it like Oracle, so this is supported with profile sources API. I don't exactly know what that means, but sounds like it's supported.
Yep.
I thought the implementation plan was very detailed as well. I think that's what I'm looking for, but it all looks good in terms of product,
Okay.
I thought. I agree. Fine by me.
And then their qualifications with their organization. Yeah, that's what they do,
Like that.
is all they use.
Like, that's good.
25. And then, work plan, scope and objective. 15. I'll give them 13,
Because we have about 40 questions.
Yeah. 13. Okay. What are we looking at? Bingo, should I make you hungry?
They were detailed.
They were very.
Very detailed. I
You're the one that gave me the cross eyes the most.
I appreciate their
Very-
layout.
Very light, very light. Print. Thing on the APA. Yeah, I mean, it. Checks all the boxes.
I was gonna say, I couldn't find anything that it.
Couldn't find anything it didn't have.
Okay, I did.
Okay, what do you got?
It looked like the AI was limited.
Yes.
I don't know if you felt the same looking through the proposal, but I don't know to what degree we need AI, so I don't know if it's,
Yeah,
their level of AI would be acceptable.
right. On their. On the Gartner rankings. We have too much people win. Lost the most important piece. They were ranked. Mango Apps was a 4.7 out of 5.
Okay.
They were dinged a little bit on their AI and a little bit on their search, which I think is kind of the same thing. Because it's an AI
Right.
powered search, so their federated AI search was dinged. Support, outstanding, easy to use, was good. They said they were slightly less, cutting edge than some other solutions.
Did
But
they?
for me, I think the county is as well, to be honest with you. I
I
mean,
mean, we're
We're government.
a government
yeah, we
body,
never want to be
so-
the bleeding edge, but
Did they score the search, or is it just a comment? Like a thing?
it was just it's a pro and con. So one of the cons was the search was not overly compelling. But, and so federated meaning it searches the content within the application itself and can search other repositories of information like SharePoint or ServiceNow.
That's really important for us.
It is
though.
important.
It also
Because
says,
we lack search capabilities now, we hear from that often, our
Yeah.
search is limited with our current solution.
But it's not consistent with our current solution.
Yes.
That's a roll of the dice. You're being very kind.
I mean, they
Yeah.
state in their proposal that they do want a federated search.
Yeah, I mean, you could API it, but I think that is their biggest weakness is their search. But still, overall, they were ranked at 4.7 out of 5.
Yeah.
I don't know how bad is bad. I think that's more evidence for needing to see something in person.
Right,
Agreed.
right.
I just need to see the rubber, where the rubber meets the road.
I have some other notes about things that don't support, user design tools, persona string mapping, or granular persona groups, geofencing, no any of that. No native integration with Oracle and no native chatbot.
Yep.
So those are all my negatives, which were probably the most out of all of the proposals.
It's the least technical of all.
Right,
things
right.
In general.
And do we know the name of the actual internet? Is it just called
I
Mango
think it's.
Apps or, yeah, okay, I didn't see it named anywhere, 'cause some of them, like,
Yeah, and Gartner just named them as Mango Apps.
Okay.
Intranet solution for Mango Apps.
gotcha.
So I assume that's the name. Where would you rank on a 30-point scale for a solution?
I was definitely concerned about the lack of some of the features,
Mhm.
maybe like an 18.
Okay.
What about you, Ryan? Did you have a number in mind?
Thinking 19, so I could do 18. Organizational qualification and experience. This, it's not the only thing they do, but it's definitely a big part of what they do. Not the largest companies that I've seen listed in their client. Decent size, they're mid-tier.
Yeah.
But they definitely, there are some that have 10, 11,000 employees. I've never heard of them, but that doesn't mean that they're not legit large companies. But I thought their proposals were very detailed. A little generic, not straight up customized, which is
Yeah,
it's a larger firm, so I get it.
yeah, I wrote the generic. It also, I wrote down 8 to 12 weeks, but that seems very short. Maybe that's just for part of the.
Well, when you read through, and we'll go on to the implementation plan next, it's a lot of us.
Right,
We're gonna show you how,
right.
right, and then you do it.
So I guess that's why the short.
I guess, that, I guess for them, it's 8 to 12 weeks, and then they're more in the maintenance phase and support, not direct implementation. Never seen anything quite go that smooth where it can stick to that time and budget, but. As far as the company itself goes, right?
17, 18,
And technical approach work plan. Kind of tour. I mean, we have some more technical people who are gonna be on this project, so we could do most of it ourselves. It's kind of appears to be more turnkey. I don't think 8 to 12 weeks bothers me a lot. I don't think we hit that mark. It's nice of them to give us that much credit, but on a 15, I'd probably give it a 10.
Agree.
Implementation.
Agree.
And not to butcher this one, Oxcon. I'm not gonna call it Oxycon.
Yeah.
I can't, maybe Oxycon is too close to Oxycon. I don't know. Sometimes these names are too clever by half.
And did you get any partners?
Got one, I could not find.
Oh.
Oxycon.
I have no references. Get in touch with.
I got one. The only reference I got back to me from Gwinnett County Board of County Commissioner, Department of Water Resources in Georgia. Yeah. What stood out to me is they were very satisfied with them, but the first question was, did this solution vendor design, build, host, and manage an enterprise-grade intranet solution? No. What they did was systems integration. But this was not an intranet solution, so That was the only reference that I got an answer from. I could not find Gartner information. So it's kind of null and void, really.
Right.
They were very happy with them, but
Right.
it wasn't in scope of what we're doing. So, bad. They're satisfied, outstanding, excellent. You know what you know today, what you knew then. Would you engage with them again? Yes.
Most for them, or, they definitely have a lot of government.
Yes.
Client,
Yes.
although they have a small client base, but it seems to be heavily on the government side.
Yep.
So I think that would be helpful, just kind of understanding how we work and some of the things that we need to work through here as being government. That was a plus for me.
Yeah. And it sounds like their product is called Central Point, so that's.
Yeah.
That's already developed.
It is, yeah, so it's out of the box. They did send a video demo,
They have several videos.
like they kind of walked you through the proposed solution. Anybody watch that besides me?
Sure.
Oh, Sandy, I wasn't
She
sure.
wasn't sure, I
Yeah.
don't know, I clicked on it, it was there. Part of their submission, so I assume that was kosher.
Yeah, you click on links at your own risk.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I assume that was,
Procurement doesn't have.
that was part of the
a
proposal.
Dog in the fight on that.
Okay.
Whether or not you click on links that are provided is, do it your own, you're answering the cybersecurity.
I mean, there's risks to that for them because I do get to see the product, which is great. I thought it was, from a user experience, rather unsophisticated. It looked maybe like a 10, 12-year-old solution from the user interface. Felt like it was definitely built more for HR in general than internal comms, which that's part of what we're doing, of course. So it's, sometimes government is a good thing, too much government is not a good thing.
Right. I mean, just in terms of like the quality.
They definitely would understand us more than more commercial
Right.
based vendors would.
Right. I do think that's a positive for them is
Okay.
the government experience. I mean, even their proposal isn't as sophisticated as just layout and
Yeah.
isn't as sophisticated as some of the other proposals.
Right.
Because it seems to me like they have this thing that they're good at potentially, or
Yeah,
that they
this
do a
their-
lot,
this their
right?
problem,
Yeah, this
right?
is what they do.
Yep.
And so that sort of like can easily adapt to whatever government.
Is that the one that said it used Hillsborough County fair model?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe let's go apps.
All right. So many papers. Well, my eyes just started losing it.
It's a small company too, as far as
It is a
workforce,
small
so
company.
support. I kind of
I
question.
will rank that one next, but as far as the overall solution, from what you could garner from the solution, the actual proposed quality of the solution.
I'm 18. Do 18. I think the pro,
Be generous.
or we generous,
I mean, I saw the video, you guys didn't have that benefit.
Right.
Right?
right?
I would give you like a 16 probably. But I'm willing to go 7.
Okay, 17.
15.
Okay. Or qualifications and experience, they are small. They do seem niche, which is good for us, because basically we are the niche, but, relatively young, relatively small.
Yeah, the big 15.
Okay. Approach and the work plan presented. Concerned about their
I actually thought it was
implementation.
pretty detailed. I mean, they've done this before, right? So,
I've done it before, and the video was very detailed.
Yeah, so I think they probably have a good,
It wasn't like a musical montage, it was
Mhm.
definitely the implementation
Yeah, like
company talking through the whole thing.
right. I actually think probably for this organization that would be a little higher for me than the other two scores.
Out of 15,
Out of 15, I'd probably give them an 11. What do you think, Brian?
I was thinking 12,
Oh, 12, yeah,
again, I had the benefit of the video. They
right,
definitely put time in, they customized the complete solution with our live branding and everything.
yeah, I'm comfortable with the 12.
That's good.
Well. All right, and then last but certainly not least, there's the staff update. Lots of people on that. Okay. They were, of course, being a larger company, ranked on Gartner, they were a 4.7 out of 5. Very high-tech options in their solution.
Mhm. I also really appreciated how they did a Excel spreadsheet.
You like the Excel
I love
spreadsheet?
the Excel spreadsheet. It just made it so easy to determine if they have the, the actual software and the.
Yep. Going down the line. and checking
Right,
things off.
exactly.
Yeah. Definitely not their first rodeo.
No. That to me just made it so helpful.
Yep.
I also didn't see any no's.
Yeah, they did.
The only no was the AI for scheduling, and is that for like you would use AI?
It's a nice-
What's the best time to?
Yeah, you would just kind of fire and forget,
Mhm.
and then it would say, well, generally, you get a higher open rate at
Next time.
15
Yeah,
on Fridays, whatever.
right.
Yeah, so it's a nice to have.
We also do not have file download analytics. I don't know how important that is to us.
We don't have it now, but,
Right.
You could give that a code though, like,
you could, well, I mean, most of our documents live in SharePoint,
yeah,
so that would be an off link.
Mm.
So that would be recorded as well, so it just kind of depends on how you want to slice the tomato.
I also appreciated that they highlighted their crisis comms features. If something goes down, how do you alert? I felt like they actually probably did the best job of
For crisis.
highlighting that. Because I think that's a really big one for us in terms of when there's a emergency activation, keeping everyone
Yeah.
informed,
We know how we lack in that area,
right?
almost like things we lack in that area.
So to me, I actually, I was impressed by that piece of it.
So quality of the proposed system, 30.
28, yeah, it was great. I really liked the platform.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I was thinking maybe like a 26, 27.
Do 27. So. Organizational qualifications, they're kind of the big kid on the block.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think we would challenge them in any way. They wouldn't come across anything new, except maybe a little more bureaucracy, but. Nothing new there. So out of 30 points, I'm thinking. 27.
Yeah.
Okay.
57. And then their scope and work plan. Paper plan, actually.
Yeah, I didn't read any specific notes about it. It did seem very generic,
It's very generic, but it's very thorough.
like some of the other ones, but yeah, but thorough.
But they know what they're doing. I
Right.
think they've got enough.
Bespoke launch.
Yeah. Good word. On a 15-point scale, as far as implementation plan goes.
Only because I do think it is kind of generic. I would probably give them a 11.
I was thinking about a 12.
Well.
Might be
You
good.
go up to 12. 12 it is. Okay. That is the ranking of all 5 vendors.
So Now that your discussion and consensus scoring are complete, I'm going to begin confirming scores for your criteria 1 through 3. Osmore, Inc. Category 1, quality of the proposed system and its ability to achieve the county's objectives, 20 points. 2, proposer's organization, qualification, and experience. I'm sorry, I said 2. 20 points for category 1, 20 points for category 2.
Okay.
And for category 3, proposer's understanding of the scope and objectives, technical approach and work plan presented, 12 points.
Correct.
Axero Holdings LLC, category 1, 22 points. Category 2, 24 points. In category 3, 12 points.
Yep.
For Blue People LLC, category 1, 10 points. Category 2, 10 points. In category 3, 6 points.
Correct.
Correct.
Intellectics,
Did good.
category 1, 18 points. Category 2, 18 points. In category 3, 11 points.
Yes.
Interact Software, category 1, 25 points. Category 2, 25 points. And category 3, 13 points.
Correct.
Mango Apps, category 1, 18 points. Category 2, 18 points. Category 3, 10 points.
Correct.
Oxycion, category 1, 17 points. Category 2, 17 points. In category 3, 12 points.
Correct.
And last but not least, Staff Base, category 1, 27 points. Category 2, 27 points. In category 3, 12 points.
Correct.
For category 4, that was cost.
Okay.
So given we have a question mark in cost, I'm going to give you our score as it stands at the moment.
Okay.
Based on the costs that we received. This will be contingent upon confirmation of Interact's cost being all-inclusive. If it is not all-inclusive, we'll have to do a determination of how we proceed accordingly, because the solicitation required certain things be provided in that cost.
Yeah. If it
So
doesn't need it without the.
if it doesn't meet it without an additional cost, they didn't incorporate in
Correct.
the things that we required
Yeah.
into that cost. So that's a concern. And if we have to change cost scoring, cost is by a formula. So it would throw all the numbers off.
Right.
So unfortunately, today we walk out with no decisions made based on that information. So cost for Osmore, it's 19.68 points. Axero Holdings LLC, it's 16.05 points. Blue People LLC, it's 4.21 points. Intellectics is 15.02 points. Interact is 17.27 points. Mango Apps is 13.49 points. Oxycion Inc. is 25 points. And Staff Base is 9.52 points. For criteria 5, it was 5 bonus points. For DMDWBE bonus points. None of the firms requested the DMDWBE bonus points, so no one received those points. Okay. So with that being said, right now, your total scores are Osmore Inc. is 71.68 points. Axero Holdings LLC is 74.05 points. Blue People LLC is 30.21 points. Intellectix is 62.02 points. Interact is 80.27 points. Mango Apps is 59.49 points. Oxycion is 71 points. And Staff Base is 75.52 points.
Sorry, what was, Oxyon,
71.
71?
Yep.
And then it was the last one.
That big,
Staff
55.
Base, 75.52.
Thanks, sorry.
Yep. Looking at your point spread,
You said Osmond 71.68. Scion,
Osmore is 71.68.
yeah, it's 71 even.
Oxycion is 71 even. You jump to 74, 75, 80 for your top three.
So from assuming staff base is all inclusive, and it was just.
Intellectix, you mean.
They're
We want
not,
to add that.
yeah, they're not in the,
No, interact.
they're not.
I'm sorry, Interact.
Interact. was
Oh,
the-
Interact.
Interact,
Oh,
yes,
It's assuming this is just transparency and it's all inclusive.
correct.
With that assumption,
They
we
would be
need-
your top
we
score.
would need to discuss how many of these firms we would want to have
Yes,
live demos from.
yes.
And it's entirely up to us how we do that, top three, top five.
So, yes, but I would also take a look at what your scoring curve looks like.
Yeah.
To make it make sense.
Right.
You seem to have a logical line there to make it make sense to some degree.
Understanding our budget, knowing what I have in the bank. How does that fit? I know what the board has given me.
That is a concern. That is a concern.
Because I understand that's incorporated in the score based on their bid,
Mhm.
but I also know what I have available.
and if what they bid is above that.
There's no way we're going back to well, yeah. We have the money with that,
If it's significantly over budget,
right?
it's outside of our range.
So is that something we discussed here now, or?
It would need to be a discussion,
Okay.
whether or not it's here now or as we move forward. I would hate to take the top three, knowing they're all out of our budget.
Right.
So have you looked at the numbers?
There's
and know
one
what
I
that
know on
is?
the top tier that is.
Correct.
That's all.
Correct. Right,
That's all I can.
and we published what our estimated budget was,
Yeah.
so it was not an unknown piece of information. It wasn't included in the solicitation document, but it was in the description that we published online. So it wasn't an unknown idea what we were looking at as our estimated budget. So it is not, I mean, if it's outside of our ability to pay the bill, it's outside our ability to pay the bill. So I will have to have a conversation with management about that and how we proceed. Because right now, they're not your top ranked, at the moment. But, you know, how do you move forward?
Right.
So right now, knowing we can't make any decisions on how to move forward anyway, because if
An unknown.
Interact, if their cost is different, it shifts the numbers.
Mhm.
And it may change what the field looks like. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to schedule another meeting to decide how to proceed.
Okay.
So I will have a conversation with management and we will book another meeting that we will publicly notice to determine how we're gonna proceed. So that'll give you guys some sleep on it time, to decide if you wanna have demos. I think you're gonna lean into that.
I think we are.
I think so.
You know where the scores sit at the moment. That may change.
Yeah.
Based on what I find out when we reach out to Interact. And then we'll go from there. I want to do it right rather than
Oh, absolutely.
try and get it done. I know your timeline is a little more flexible than
It is.
some other contracts than, so I'd rather make sure we're asking the question and not walking into a contract where we have no idea what the cost is and not scoring it properly and not giving a fair playing field to all of the proposers as well. I don't want to give somebody a score that's not fair and have a hidden cost come out later. And that could have meant the difference between somebody else coming for a demo. So, it could drastically change the field moving forward, so I wanna do it right. Okay? So. Where we are is where we're at the moment. And we will. My proposed script for moving forward is completely different now. I am not going to have you sign off on the score sheet today.
Okay. So that's the-
We're basically just gonna hit pause on this evaluation until we can obtain clarification. Is there anything else that I need to obtain clarification on? And while I'm at it, let me make sure the add-on is for what?
Interact.
Right.
Yeah,
but
so it's on
for
page
what's the,
It's on page 44 of the solution detail document,
It's the,
the very last page,
yeah.
and it lists, I don't know, what, 8 different things that
At the table.
as a table at the bottom of page 4.
so there's a whole page of.
Well, it's like
add-ons.
8 bullets really,
But
translated,
of those things, what are the required things?
several.
Right.
Digital signage, social advocacy, mobile app, analytics, newsletter, surveys. So I'd say 7 of the 9 are requirements.
Okay, okay.
So,
And it may very well be that they're gonna be like, oh, yeah, that's in our price, we're good.
yeah, just-
I get that in confirmation.
Great.
Yeah,
fine.
beautiful,
That's what I'm hoping.
proceed accordingly. If not, that changes the landscape drastically and I gotta decide with management how we wanna move forward with that, so.
Okay.
I have in my mind what I think that will be, but I don't wanna utter it out into the universe until I'm sure that we're all in concurrence and procurement. So, okay. All right, well, I really appreciate your time. I know this is super time consuming, other duties as assigned. So, and I know it's gonna need more time on your part to do this same bat time, same bat channel in a couple of days.
It'd be a little easier.
Yeah.
Around,
Hopefully, we'll be able to book this relatively quickly. I'll get an answer, book it. We advertise it, get you guys in here.
What's the advertising time, 5 days?
No, not even, yeah,
Oh,
like
today.
24, 48 hours,
Oh,
something like that, yeah.
great.
So it's
So,
your calendars, how free.
Can move just
open.
about anything for this. I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
I'm here all week.
Okay,
I'm out the 11th and the 14th of July.
Okay. it's also in person, so
Yep.
that's the other piece of it. And I will drive and make it happen, no matter
Sure.
what day it is, so we will make it happen. So, I know Sakina isn't feeling well, so I will come and take care of it and make sure we're done. So, okay,
Thank you.
any questions? No, okay, beautiful. For all of those that are online that have attended and listened in, stay tuned. And we will advertise a future date to proceed. Thank you very much. That concludes this meeting.
Also out the third. So I just have it's a procurement question.
General,
Yes.